Welcome to our inaugural edition of Global Markets. The computer services industry is hot right now. That's the analysis of our chief equity strategist and economist, John Blank, and he joins me with more. John, why computer services?
Terry, the basic point is there's no one on the face of the earth now that cannot put to work the internet, the cloud, and all of the related interaction with their customers over the computer. But the problem is a lot of people, you and I are probably Exhibit A and Exhibit B, just simply need to get services from computer people who are proficient enough to teach us and enable us to achieve things and raise our productivity in these environments. So this business is a niche business. There's lots of firms in it, and they do a lot of different stuff, but the bottom line is they enable us to use computers better.
For the sake of discussion, then, what might make this go from hot to just lukewarm?
Well, the basic point here is we get into a trade war, and there's a real raising of the cost of computing itself. So people stop installing equipment and new technologies that are not visible and understandable by people. Then basically people will stop buying the services because services of computers are a complement. That meaning the more computers, the more new upgrades, the more services that need to come along.
But for the time being, this group then is delivering decent stock returns, correct?
That is correct. I mean, the Zacks industry rank of this thing, as I pulled it up, speaking with you now, is number 16 out of 250. That's so red hot. It's unbelievable. One thing you'll notice about the momentum is on for all these stocks. They're all going to be A's or B's from momentum. So you've got to be very careful about your entry points, and you got to watch them closely because the basic point here is that, you've got a story, an industry story, not only a company story that's very strong.
You wrote recently that the U.S.-China trade situation is bending macro data everywhere. Does that include an impact on this or related industries?
Well, here's the thing. We're talking about computer services, and then what's bending the macro data is goods. So goods production, particularly in China itself and all its suppliers, and frankly now the United States and Mexico, we're seeing this downtrend and worry and pullback in goods production. But this is a service business, so it has yet to show that, and it's also these contracts that people work on are multi-month contracts. So it's entirely possible that this whole thing can ride on, and this is what you want: services, not goods.
You also wrote recently that from Canada to Japan, developing countries are now seen cutting interest rates. Is that putting any pressure on this or related industries?
That's only helping this industry. Again, when these central banks are trying to work out the falling goods production, they're going to stimulate the services through cutting rates. And so you can think about it literally like cutting rates. Why does this get to computer services? Well, it makes people get loans for businesses and houses that can bring in new equipment, Internet of Things type equipment. Even your laundry machines, your dishwashers, all of this stuff has got some type of computing, and then there's going to be some services that follow on with that. If anything, there might be in the businesses themselves. So the bottom line is cutting rates raises services, and that's going to get you back to this business again.
You say a global recession this year is unlikely, but with trade waning, there are no real positive signs of economic improvement globally either. Is that going to bode negatively for service industries?
Not yet, Terry, but we need to watch out for is a big financial market blowout. That's the issue here is that these financial markets get spooked or they get too frothy, and then all of a sudden they turn around and they spike, and this creates all this kind of chaos for this industry. That hasn't happened yet, but that's what we've got to watch out for.
Top stocks in this computer services industry on your radar include Perficient and its Perficient Digital Agency, CSG Systems International, and Mantech International.
Right, let's talk Perficient just to get this thing going. This is the Zacks number one ranked stock of the bunch. And what they do is they enable clients to improve productivity and competitiveness. So this is big data and analytics. This is platform implementations, content management, portals, collaboration, management consulting type stuff. This is fairly typical. And, let's go now to CSG. This is a outsourced billing, customer care, and print and mail solution. So these guys help you reach out and deal with your customers on the web. And finally, we can get to Mantech. Mantech is basically going to help you with national security programs. And this is another part of this whole thing is every time you go on the computer, you put yourself at risk to the hackers and the fraudsters out there. And so these computer security firms like Mantech are getting a huge amount of demand.
Another look at global markets with Chief Equity Strategist and Economist John Blank. With John, I'm Terry Ruffalo.
This material is being provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein constitutes investment, legal, accounting, or tax advice, or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold a security. Do not act or rely upon the information and advice given in this podcast without seeking the services of competent and professional legal, tax, or accounting counsel. Publication and distribution of this podcast is not intended to create, and the information contained herein does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. No recommendation or advice is being given as to whether any investment or strategy is suitable for a particular investor. It should not be assumed that any investments in securities, companies, sectors, or markets identified and described were or will be profitable. All information is current as of the date herein and is subject to change without notice. Any views or opinions expressed may not reflect those of Zacks Investment Research as a whole.